The Israelites continued to do what was evil in the sight of the Lord. So, the Lord handed them over to the Midianites, who destroyed the Israelites' crops and took their livestock. God's people cried out to the Lord. The angel of the Lord appeared to a man named Gideon. The angel said, "The Lord is with you, brave warrior. I am sending you to rescue my people from Midian." "But how can I do that?" asked Gideon. "I am from the weakest family in Israel. I am the youngest man in my family." God said, "I will be with you, and you will have victory." God also told him to tear down places of worship to two false gods, Baal and Asherah. The Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon, and he blew the ram's horn, and God's people came to meet him and fight the Midianites. Gideon said to God, "I will put a wool fleece on the ground. If in the morning there is dew on the fleece, but the ground is dry, then I will know that you will give Israel victory." When he woke, the fleece was wet, and the ground was dry. Again, Gideon said to God, "Don't be angry with me, but let me make one more test. This time, let the fleece be dry and the ground be wet." That night, God did as Gideon requested. The fleece was dry and the ground was wet with dew. So the army went to fight the Midianites. Before Israel began to fight, the Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many troops. If you fight with this many people, Israel will think they defeated the Midianites on their own. They need to know that I am the one who gives them victory." So Gideon told anyone who was fearful of the battle to go home. 22,000 troops left, and 10,000 remained. The Lord said, "There are still too many troops. Take them down to the water, and everyone who laps water like a dog will stay to fight the battle." After this test, only 300 troops remained. Then the Israelites surrounded the Midianite camp. They blew their trumpets and made a great noise, shouting, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon." The Midianites were confused and scared. They turned on each other with their swords. God's people won the battle. Gideon could have never won the battle without God's power. Victory came from God alone. We cannot save ourselves from sin. Only Jesus can save us from our sin.
Hi there, I'm Pastor Kevin. It's time for questions from kids. Hannah from Moore, South Carolina asks,
If God really wants, is it possible for people to go to heaven if they're not saved?
That's a really complex question, but let's think about it. First, let's think about God's character. If God really wants to do something, He can do it. There is nothing that God cannot do. The word that describes God's ability to do this is called sovereign. Sovereign means God's ability, power, authority, and might to do whatever He wants when He wants. No one else can do that. Second, let's think about what salvation means. Salvation means we are saved. Saved from the penalty of our sins. Through salvation, we are reconciled and adopted, sanctified and justified. Now listen, that's a bunch of big words that you will keep learning more and more about. Is it possible to go to heaven if we are not saved? No. To be saved means you are going to heaven. This is the way God designed salvation. The way that people are saved is by believing in God and trusting in the work of Jesus Christ. Our job is to tell people of the good news of salvation. Why do we need to share the gospel with others? I would love to hear from you. If you have a question, email me at gospelproject.kids@lifeway.com, and next time I might be answering a question from you.
With everything we do, every word we speak. we found in you. Love one another, yeah, love one another, that's what we'll do.